Good morning, gentlemen. Nice talking to you again. I think I'm going to talk to you today about Donald Trump. And he's got, I think, 15 days, and then he's going to be the President of the United States. That's a wonderful thing for Donald Trump. You should be happy about it. But he's going to face tremendous problems once he takes over as president. Joe Biden is still clinging to the presidency. And clinging to the presidency means he's a person who's wanting to leave his mark here over the world. It's not easy to do that, but then he didn't do anything in 4 years, lackluster period. But in the last month, he's been wanting to make everything happen so his name is remembered in history. I think one of the first things he wants is the Ukraine war. He should leave a message and leave America in a position where they're going to win in Ukraine. It's not easy because the Russians are breathing down, and he's had a failure. He thought Russia would collapse with the various sanctions we put on Russia. Nothing happened. The Russians still honky dory. They're going fine, but there has been escalation in Ukraine, Russia war. Ukrainians are using the most sophisticated weapons, and the last information I've got is that they are going to attack, or maybe they have attacked with drones, the Russian nuclear installations. Now that's a very serious matter, and I don't think they could have done it without Joe Biden's okay. So what is Joe Biden's plan? His plan is to present a fait accompli to Donald Trump and tell him, look, friend, now you handle it. And Donald Trump, who had said he's going to stop the war in Ukraine within one day, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. The Russians are pretty angry, and now they've hardened their demands. And whatever proposals he had put up to the Russians, I don't think is acceptable to the Russians. Donald Trump's proposal was to have a ceasefire as it is and have the border policed by the French and the British soldiers, and NATO wouldn't wouldn't ask, make Ukraine a member for 20 years. But what happens after 20 years? And the Russians not accepting that the French and British soldiers will come and police the ceasefire line. So it's a catch-22 state situation. And as far as our good friend Zelensky is concerned, I think he doesn't want any peace at all. He's a man who should be tried as a war criminal. Who's going to do it? I don't think so. Anybody's going to do it. But that's my opinion. I haven't tied to it. He destroyed Ukraine, and Ukraine doesn't have the manpower to fight, and not be long before they say hands up. That's my personal view. But again, I have been feeling very sorry for the Russians, mainly because of the very poor fighting efficiency they've shown. I thought they would have done better than just sitting around the war for 2 years. You couldn't beat it. You must remember that the Indian army fought in East Pakistan and took over an area bigger than Ukraine in 13 days. So you got to go about with the strategy. The Indian army's strategy was very simple. They never fought a pitched battle in trying to capture the towns. All their aim was to go and capture the cantonment at Dhaka, and take control of the GHQ, the General Headquarters of the Pakistan Army. I think if Putin had followed that sort of a strategy, things would have been better for him, but he didn't follow that, and as a result, you can see, gentlemen, what happened. He hasn't been able to make uh, subdue Ukraine even after 2 years of fighting. So this is the first test that Donald Trump is going to face Ukraine. Now there's got another test which is coming up, and that is Israel. Now, in the Middle East, what I have seen is that there are two groups of people there. One is the monarchies and the Nawabs, etc., who really uh, are pro-America, and they want to retain their rights and privileges, while there are another group, which suppose terrorist organizations. You see terrorist organizations like the Hamas and Hezbollah, and Iran is one part of that. Now the war there is going on in a very different way. Israel has struck at Hamas in the Gaza Strip, but again, I wouldn't say the Israelis are all that successful because they have not been able to locate where the hostages are hidden. Now, Gaza is a very small area, and I couldn't understand how the Israelis couldn't locate where the hostages are kept. There's a string of tunnels there which have been made by China, and they're the bugbear. The Israelis are not able to negotiate or find out all the tunnels. There's still very many probably which are hidden where these hostages are kept. Donald Trump has also asked the whole release of the hostages. He said otherwise they'll be held to pay. Well, possibly, but despite killing about thousands of Palestinians, the Israelis have not, in my view, been able to subdue Gaza, and that is a very great alarming thing. Of course, the Israelis have been successful in Syria because Assad had to go away. Assad was one of the implacable enemies, and now he's sitting in Moscow. I don't know what's going to happen to him. Probably his days are numbered. He's done it with a lot of gold and all that, and foreign exchange. But I don't know what that's going to be used because you're going to be under the protection of the Russians, and the Russians are Russians. They take away all the wealth, and Assad won't know. You know, the greatest opponent of Putin, I won't say what happened to him, you all know it. He sent to prison in Siberia and he died there. So Assad should have chosen a better country. But there was no other country he could choose, and he committed the biggest mistake of his life when he didn't sign the Abraham Accord. He should have signed it. It would have given him life. He would have recognized Israel, but he thought the Russians are going to be all over and they'll be able to help him. Russia couldn't help him in this crucial battle, you know. And you know what happened at that time in this battle? He couldn't do a thing. He'd run away. Russians were tied up in Ukraine. The fighting in Ukraine is pretty severe. And now, unfortunately, Assad has turned away. Now, the next man who's come in there, I think he might be a little bit of a pro-Israeli. At least he's anti-Iran. He stopped all the supplies and the weapons sector which is going from Iran to Hezbollah. And Hezbollah doesn't know what the hell is happening now. So when Donald Trump takes over, he's going to face this situation. What's he going to do about it? The first thing is they have to crush Hamas. Will they be able to do it? The Americans? What about the hostages? How are you going to get the hostages out? There's some deal being worked out. But the very fact that you're forced to work out a deal just about shows that, well, everything is not honky-dory. If it had been honky-dory, then perhaps, you know, the Israelis will execute the hostages, taken over the area, but they've been not able to do it despite all this fighting and all that. Of course, the Israelis have a lot of successes, you know, killing Hanaya in Tehran. And now Joe Biden, I think, is biting with something more. He's got 15 days though, and I won't be surprised if he launches an attack on Iran, the nuclear installations of Iran. So we'll wait and see what happens now, whether he does it or no. But he's out, as I told you, to make a name in history. And once he does that, I don't think Donald Trump will be able to veto it. It'll be something like a fait accompli. Donald Trump is also now in a bit of a quandary, you know, because as far as China is concerned. Now, a lot of the American economy is mortgaged to China. And then he has a problem with India. I wonder what's he going to do with India, you know. Modi is playing his own tune. And though the Americans under Biden were very suspicious of Modi, I think Donald Trump will be better off in the sense he could be more open. And there has been a thaw, I would say, an American signal, because the one man American who had been, accused of having made an attempt to kill Panu, that is Nikhil Gupta, has been released. I'm surprised myself. And he's been released. He's in India now. And obviously it's what is called a gift from the Americans. So we'll have to wait and see what happens further, gentlemen. America would like to be India's friend. And now the National Security Advisor, Mr. Sullivan, is coming to India. He's going to discuss the damage which Chinese are making in Tibet. Now, China is also in facing great trouble. They're basically having economic problems, and they don't want to fight with India. I think that's the way it is because they're gearing up for the battle with Taiwan. Because how long are they going to keep waiting? And the Americans have tied the anchor around their neck. And what is that anchor which they have tied? They accepted the one China principle. The one China means Richard Nixon threw in the towel, said, yes, sir, Ji Hazur, yes, sir, 3 bags full to Mao Zedong. And the days he was in Beijing, the Seventh Fleet was withdrawn as well. And he agreed that China would be the main contender for the one China policy. That means Taiwan he had ditched in the Pacific Ocean. So General Chiang Kai-shek must have been really worried. He was alive at that time when Nixon made his visit to Beijing. But now the situation is that China is having an economy of 20 trillion. There's still a lot of poverty in China. They've been better off than India as far as food and things are concerned. And the Chinese economy militarily is going up. They got the latest 6th generation fighter which they get trying to induct it. And they are fishing in troubled waters with extremists in Afghanistan, supporting Pakistan, supporting the Jamaat-e-Islami in Bangladesh, and also keeping their eyes trained on Taiwan so they can conquer it. So the Americans have their hands full. I think now Donald Trump will have to unravel this, will do it. And then there is Pakistan. I think now the Americans have put sanctions on Pakistan. We're going for ICBM. But this is again foolishness. The sanctions had been put a long time back when they were going for the IRBM and other missiles, the shorter ones. They didn't do it that time. Probably they thought they're not a threat to us. See, everything is a threat to America. You must remember that. Because if you're going to have an IRBM, you're going to have an ICBM also, and that's what the Pakis want. So I wouldn't be surprised, however, once Donald Trump comes, that the next target of Israel would be Iran and after that Pakistan. And all that is okay. Americans probably carry the day, but where they're going to fail is China. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. And then the Modi must be really wondering what the hell's going on because India's way behind China. How is it going to bridge the gap? So bridge the gap is not possible. So the only thing possible is a border solution. But if you're going to keep on making noises that Kashmir is your territory, when you didn't have control over it for 100 years, I mean, you can well imagine what happens. And if you look at the map of the world, say the 16th century, 17th century, the Mughal Empire, they never had any control over Oxford. They were not, it's never part of India. So you'll have to make some allowances in this and do it accordingly. As far as America-India relationship is concerned, I think America needs India. India also needs America because India needs someone as one who's a bulwark against China. India can't find China alone. So America is the insurance, you know. So Modi's got to be very careful. And one thing good is that George Soros, I think, would be written off. He won't be doing anything more hanky-panky with they did in Bangladesh. And Modi has to act in Bangladesh. I don't know whether he's going to do it, not do it. I've been hearing that today action is going to take, tomorrow is going to take. Abhi time aa gaya, action is going to be done. Well, all that is okay, but nothing much is happening as far as Bangladesh is concerned. And I think I was reading the other day somewhere, some 30, 40 or maybe 100 young girls were just abducted for the pleasure of the majority community. I mean, such things happening in Bangladesh in the modern world in the 21st century, very bad. And I wonder how the Bengalis go around lionizing the Pakis. They've forgotten that thousands of women impregnated and left as such. It's been documented by the United Nations. And there's a famous quote by General Niazi. General Niazi, you know, once in a conference was so much furious that the Bengalis were black and small. He said, "Inki nasal change kar do." National being, you change the race by sleeping with the Punjabis. It's a very stupid thing. And there was a major Bangladesh army who was sitting in that conference. He was so upset, he went and shot himself in the bathroom. Well, all that is there. I think my personal feeling is that Muhammad Yunus has played his cards and he probably run away. And some action is called for. Probably Narendra Modi is waiting for Donald Trump to come and take over. And once Donald Trump comes and takes over, there's a good chance things may be different. Well, gentlemen, I think I've given you some of the hot spots of the world. Donald Trump's going to have a fait accompli presented to him. We'll have to see what he does. And in the meanwhile, I'll say goodbye and God bless. Take care. And if you like my video, come back and meet me again. Bye bye.